performers were against the idea of her becoming a lady wrestler, but when anyone told Lillian she couldn't do something, she was determined to prove them wrong. And she did. She started out as a valet or ringside assistant for a male wrestler known as the Elephant Boy. She would enter the ring, brush his hair to make it wild and bushy, and kiss him on the cheek. He'd grunt and growl and toss his opponent around. But Lillian wasn't content to be anyone's valet. She wanted to be a wrestler and a star. On May 26, 1949, she had her first match, a very boring match. She needed a gimmick, something to make people pay attention. When asked why she wanted to wrestle, Lillian had a sassy answer: for the moolah. That was when Lillian became the fabulous moolah. She started getting more matches and quickly realized that crowds loved villain, so she gave them what she wanted. Lillian used a lot of flashy and not quite condoned wrestling moves. Flying drop kicks, scissor holds, body slams. The more outrageous, the better. Her signature move was the moolah whip. Lillian would grab her opponent's hair and whip her around the ring. Lillian was also known to hide a pipe in her tights and take it out when the referee wasn't looking. She'd bonk her opponent with it and then hide it again. Soon the fans would be screaming wildly at the referee to disqualify her. But she wasn't done yet. She'd wave the pipe, let her opponent grab it, and then have the referee disqualify her. Lillian didn't care if the fans cheered, booed, or called wrestling fake, just so they paid attention, and they did. The fabulous moolah held the title of Women's Championship of the World for almost 30 years, winning her last match when she was 76. In 1995, she was the first woman inducted into the World Wrestling Entertainment WWE Hall of Fame, and entertaining sums her up perfectly. Mary Lillian Ellison. May Emmeline Wirth, outrageous trick writer. May grew up in Australia with her family of circus performers. As a child, she was a tightrope walker, contortist, and acrobat. But this pint-sized powerhouse was really born to ride. By the time she was 10, she was a bareback trick-riding star. In the audience for one performance was one of John Ringling's scouts looking for new talent. And when May did back some results from one galloping horse to another, he knew he had found it. For 2 years, she toured with the Barnum and Bailey Circus in the United States. Crowds loved the smiling young equestrian in her signature pink bow. She was billed as the world's greatest bareback rider and was determined to prove it. May wasn't contented to do the same act for every show, so she was always creating new and more amazing and dangerous stunts. She somersaulted through rings backwards. She knelt on the horse's back and then did a forward flip, landing gracefully upright. Then she tried something no one had ever attempted before. May stood on a galloping stallion facing its tail. Then she would somersault high in the air, spin, and land back on the horse facing forward. May performed her trick routines while music played, and she occasionally danced the Charleston, a popular dance at the time, while standing on the horse's back as it galloped around the ring. One of her more unusual tricks was also a crowd favorite. May would stand in the ring, but instead of shoes, she would have wicker baskets on her feet. She would then jump up onto the back of a galloping horse. To make it even harder, she would do this while wearing a blindfold. May liked to boast that she could ride anything with 4 feet. One day, a lawyer challenged her to prove it by riding his untamed prize bull, King Chess, bareback. A talented equestrian as daring as May was not able to back down from a dare. May not only rode the bull, but she did a handstand on its back. May's trick riding career lasted over 25 years as one of the most admired and beloved circus performers. She was inducted into the Circus Hall of Fame in 1964. May was born to ride, and she did that better and more spectacularly than most. May Emmeline Wirth. match with an 18-year-old male wrestler. Mildred didn't know the wrestler had been told to body slam her so she'd stop pestering the manager, but he didn't get the chance because Mildred pinned him. The manager asked for a rematch. Mildred pinned the same wrestler again. She was on her way to becoming one of the world's best lady wrestlers. Mildred took training very seriously, lifting weights, watching her diet, and exercising daily. She started wrestling in carnivals. Her manager would offer $25 to anyone, male or female, who could pin her in 10 minutes. Nobody could. Mildred, or Millie as she liked to be called, was strong, but she was also smart. Science was her advantage. She used her opponent's own weight as leverage against them. She studied all types of moves and holds and practiced until she mastered them. Her signature move was the alligator clutch, a speedy spinning maneuver that tied her opponent up like a pretzel. Mildred's quickness in the ring earned her the nickname the Kansas Cyclone. In 1936, she moved from the carnival circuit to sporting arenas. As her reputation grew, so did her fame. Newspapers and magazines wrote about her. Newsreels showed her wrestling by day in lots of makeup and going out at night in silk dresses and high heels. She wanted to prove that women could be successful athletes in a tough, male-dominated sport and still maintain their femininity. All through her career, she encouraged women to try wrestling. In November 1954, she took a group of women wrestlers to Japan for several matches. At first, the Japanese were stunned. The idea of women wrestling shattered long-held traditions of proper female behavior, but slowly they accepted the strength and grace of the sport.